Hey everybody, FrSky Steve. Welcome to episode 20 of the O-20 series, and this is the end. So, because we have the O-20 series with the number 2 in it, I thought I would end with a pick 2. When we look at the line, there's just way too much to talk about. I can never do this justice, and after about 10 minutes, I sound like this, yada, 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 yada. So what I decided to do is let's just focus on two things in each of these lines here. We'll talk about transmitters. I'm going to start off with the two things that I find to be of interest in transmitters. The first one is going to be the tandem X20RS. This was, essentially this is the update to the X20S. I have been an X20 with the S gimbal upgrade owner for as long as the transmitter's been out. I think I was about month 2 or month 3 into the transmitter line when I got my X20 with the S gimbals, and at first I wasn't really super excited about it. It didn't have any receivers. The firmware was not really that great, but when I figured out that they were able to make it work with Ethos suite, and when the transmitter was able to, the computer software was able to figure out what transmitter was hooked up to it and automatically update everything, I freaked the hell out because it was so amazing. And I've been in love with the tandem line from that day on. That's what won me over, and I fell for the tandem line big time. So the X20 line is a very good transmitter, and I've definitely enjoyed it. I know a lot of people enjoyed it. I know a lot of people who've bought these over the years. The X20 is missing some pretty interesting things. First of all, it relies on a micro SD card to keep track of your models and everything else like that. And now that's been replaced with the tandem X20RS, and that now comes with 8 gigabytes of high-speed internal storage, and that makes a huge difference. The other thing that it does is it has the third set of trims on there. So when we're doing a lot of this custom tuning like we talked about throughout the series, it would be really helpful to have another set of trims to be able to, especially if you start to get into things like variables or VARs as we call them, very handy to have that. So this is, by the time you get your hands on this transmitter, it is, I don't know, it feels more like the X20 Pro than it does the X20S. And I know it's weird for me to say that. The X20 Pro and X20S are very similar, but when you have spend time with both transmitters, you do start to feel the difference. The Pro just has this very solid, well put together feeling about it, and somehow they managed to get that exact same feel with a plastic case. So the X20 RS is, in my opinion, just a standout transmitter. It is something that, I love the X20 Pro, but I just kind of like the feel of the plastic case, and I'm just going to say it, sooner or later they're going to come out with a color that I'm absolutely crazy about, and my next transmitter most likely will be the X20 RS with a color that I'm crazy about. Now, the next one, this one is, it's hard to say honorable mention. I would love to get one of these, with the exception is that, or the reason I'm not, is because I already have too many transmitters. I love this transmitter, and it is the Twin X14S. So its baby sister is the Twin X14. It doesn't have the S-series gimbals on it. That transmitter, the X14, retails for under $190, and it is absolutely the perfect step-up radio for somebody who is getting into RC and needs a good solid transmitter, needs something that can hold all the planes that they're going to buy in the first and second year, something that does 24 channels, something that works with Ethos, something that could be upgraded, something that has the third set of trims on it, something that has the what do you call that? The momentary switch on the left side instead of the right side. This is all around just an excellent little transmitter. And I think the problem with it is that when I bring it to a show, it just looks so small and tiny compared to all the other transmitters. But when I put it in people's hands, they're like, wow, this thing is actually really cool. And they really like the transmitter. So I'm very up on the X14, the twin X14. It works with the twin protocol. That is 2.4 gigahertz long range, or LoRa as we call it, and 2.4 gigahertz FSK, which is similar to ACC and Access and Spectrum and Futaba and all those other things. Okay, so we're done with transmitters. When it comes to receivers, we have, take a look at this, there's over 5 pages of receivers we can choose from. So to get something that stands out is difficult, but in my mind, the one I'm really crazy about is this one right here. This is called the Tandem TDSR10. The reason I like this so much is because the TDR10 is a receiver I put in plenty of planes. We sell that by the boatload. We literally unpack a container and drop them off places. Well, not quite like that, but yeah, people love that receiver. It is the workhorse of the Tandem line. So the stabilized receivers are about to get a major, and I do mean major upgrade when we actually have a new firmware and an updated version of Ethos 1.5.x, where you will no longer need the Lewis scripts, and that is going to come before the end of summer in 2024. So this is the stabilization system on this thing is amazing. Once you start flying with it, you just kind of want to keep putting it in the rest of your planes. Every time I build a new plane, I always put the stabilized receivers in now, and I'm not really a stabilized receiver kind of guy, but this FrSky stabilization system absolutely won me over. The other one that I like to point out is that occasionally we get guys who are flying warbirds, and if they have the high-tech HS645MG servos, those servos don't tend to get along super well with our 900 megahertz receivers, because what they have in there is telemetry that somehow interferes with those servos and causes them to jitter. And the way around it is this TWR12, especially if you've got one of our new Tandem Pro transmitters or Tandem R or RS transmitters with the 3 protocols. You can work with twin. You can put this on the plane, and you're going to have a great flying experience with it. So I am 100% in love with this as a solution for guys who fly warbirds and want to stick with their old-time servos. And so, fantastic. Now, when it comes to servos, we have a lot of winners in the line, and so there are 2 that stand out. The first one is the BLS 5405H. It's an $80 servo. It is a brushless servo. It has 762 ounce-inches of torque, goes up to 8.4 volts. Oh, but no, it's not finished there. It also has telemetry, which means you can keep track in real time how much current you're pulling off that servo, and you can set up alerts in your transmitter to let you know if you're starting to draw too much current on your servos in real time. So all around an excellent servo. We've sold gazillions of these to guys who fly turbine jets and large warbirds, and people love them. Now, in the exact line, we have this new line of brushless, or cordless servos, I should say, that called the MD5301H, and that one is a mid-size servo. It also has telemetry. Retails for $50. It has better specs than Theta. It's a better built servo than Theta, and it is a lot less expensive than Theta. So yeah, this is the servo that people, eat these things up like chiclets. They are such a great servo. So yeah, absolutely worth looking at. In the flight safe systems, and I suppose a lot of people don't know we have these are redundancy board systems where you can put multiple batteries on and multiple receivers in these things, and you can have the extra security knowing that you have everything buttoned down as well as possible. The one I'd like to focus in on is the RB25, and what's interesting about this, let me see if I can pull it up really quick. Yeah, you can see it looks kind of like the TD R18. So this has dual inputs. These are XT30 inputs, and you can power up to 18 servos off of this. You can put, I believe it's 3 receivers into this, and you can put those receivers in other parts of your plane. So even though you need to keep this unit close to the center of where the wings join up, you can move your receivers away from this and move it to areas that might have better signal penetration. So I really think highly of this. And you can also get with this the second thing I like about it is the remote NFC switch. What this is, it has this NFC dongle, and you brush up against it and it turns it on and off. But also, once you turn it on, you can set up your transmitter to turn your switch on and off from the transmitter. Really cool little feature. So interesting. They retail for $30 each. Really like them. When it comes to the sensor line, we have a lot of interesting sensors, and to pick out 2 is kind of difficult because there's so many great ones to choose from. But the 2 I'd like to focus in on is, the first one is the Airspeed ASS 100 Advanced. So every time you see the letter ADV, it means that it uses S-Bus and F-Bus combined. If S-Bus and SmartPort had a baby, it would be known as F as in Frank, F-Bus. And what F-Bus is uses that same 3-wire servo connector, but it also gets telemetry off of the signal wire. So all around an amazing technology. The airspeed sensor is something that it's a pitot tube, hook it up to your planes, and this is especially important if you are flying things that are fast like turbine jets and you really want to nail your landings. If really, it's going to take quite a bit of training for people to understand the proper way to land a turbine jet. And someone I've been watching develop over the last couple years has been Pete Tinney out of California. He is a retired airline pilot, and when he found out that we sold pitot tubes, he could not wait to get his hands on them, and he's put them on every single plane. And he spent years and years and years landing, real turbine jets or jet airline planes, and he if he can get his landing speed down. And he was telling me that you kind of have to be very close to stall speed before you land. He knew if he can nail that landing speed, he can nail the landing, and he has grown so much in the hobby, and he really relies on this. And so, yeah, the airspeed sensor is a great tool to have. The other one I really like is the GPS, and GPS Advanced. Again, it's F-Bus connection. I put these in my planes. You get ground speed, you get vertical, you can get altitude, I believe vertical speed as well. And what's interesting about it is, of course, you get your GPS coordinates. And when you get your GPS coordinates, you can go back later on in the flight. And if you ever were flying somewhere and you get some kind of weird warning, like low telemetry warning, or maybe you look through the flight data logs and you say to yourself, man, I didn't know we dropped suddenly the link quality went down low and VFR went down to 52 for a moment here, and you wonder where it was you were flying where you lost that much signal. you can go look on the same telemetry log and find the GPS coordinate where the signal was dropped, and you can go back and look up exactly on the map where it was that you had the problem at. So I think it's an all-around great little device to have inside of a plane. I absolutely adore it. And with that, we are done with the O-20 series, I'm sorry to say. Yeah, this has been a real journey, and I'm sure my wife is looking forward to having me do all the things that I have not been doing around the house over the last week. But what I will say is, if you appreciate the series, all I ask for is, if you see me at an event, just come up and say hi and say, hey, thank you. People do that, and it really means a lot to me. It really helps me out to understand who you are and what you're going through. Also, if we can't meet in person, if you can drop me a note, that's great. But the thing that really makes a difference, and the reason why I'm able to do what I do, is because I have the support of the North American retail distribution network for FrSky. These are the people that keep me and Ben working, and we serve them. And these people, I mean, I know probably almost all these people, and they are such great people. They're really cool. So many of these guys have been pushing the FrSky line so hard. They believe in the line. They love the products. They love the company, and they make it a point to introduce the products to their customers. The reason why we've grown, the reason why probably you have a FrSky transmitter, is because somebody along the line, one of these retailers, that got to someone you may know or may not know, and they were able to get it in their hands, and they were able to influence them, and then those people in turn told other people who told you. So I really do want to support them. Your support to them means the world to me, and to Ben as well. This is really something that is a very good. If you're an RC pilot and you don't have a relationship with a retailer, you really, really, really should start thinking about it. Starting to get to be known, dropping messages, and these people know their customer base, and they look out for their customers. So if you're really missing out if you don't have a retailer that you have a relationship with if you're into RC. So I highly encourage you to get to know your distribution options out there. And hopefully you'll find one that works for you. There's so many great ones. You can go to our FrSky website. In fact, if you go to purchase right here, I do want to say that we do have a much better website now that we've moved to the Amazon ASW, or it's AWS website. And when you look at North America, I'm sure, here we are, USA, you can see all these different retailers. Get to know them, look them up. These guys are great. Man, I'm looking at these names, and I'm just thinking about all these people and how great they are. And right when I see these names, I think of the people, and they're just, I don't know, really good people, and I highly encourage you to get to know them. And there's also, if you look in other parts of the world, look at this. I'm sure these guys are all great as well. So please take a moment and look through this and find a retailer, and hopefully get to know a retailer in your country or in your local area, and get a relationship going. And with that, I do thank you for watching this series.